Legos in the library?
Why not? My name is Melissa Strauss, and I am an elementary school librarian in our district. My purpose this evening is to gain your support to move forward. Our district proficiency level indicates that 50% of our students fall below the 25th percentile. We have a lack of observable student engagement center time, which often becomes groups, small groups, doing the same activity. Our district Common Core standard for recalling, retelling, and writing is mastered by only 50% of our students. The district no longer funds art in our elementary schools, which is now a part of STEM: science, technology, engineering, art, and math. How would you like a simple and inexpensive way to affect the level of proficiency for recalling, retelling, and writing?
Why should we use the Lego Story Starter as a makerspace? Well, the Lego Story Starter makerspace integrates the need we have with read, retell, and write. Let's listen how one elementary teacher campaigns for the Lego Story Starter makerspace. Let's continue to meet our district's wildly important goals. We'll wear our wigs with Lego makerspaces in the school library. Examine this Lego storyboard and pause the video to answer these 5W questions: who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. If you are sitting near a colleague, ask each other those same questions and click on the green play button to view the remaining video. Remember the identified needs on slide 2? Our focused instructional teams met to align the data and determine the 25% of the students to focus on initially, placing these scholars with groups of stronger students that will encourage collaborative discussions between the less than proficient student and the more able scholar. Lego Story Starter is now on the table for further discussion. Our FIT teams have discovered that Legos have a history and has stood the test of time. Knowledge of makerspaces began in 1873. Communities historically had organized groups for children and crafts, but in 1933, a Canadian library connected people to crafts. In 1961, Lego's patent was approved. This decision to use makerspaces occurred when Make, the magazine, was entirely devoted to makerspaces. Formal makerspaces were implemented in 2011 as an aid for 21st century education through the library. Confirmation of makerspaces is evidenced with the Makerspace Task Force Toolkit, created through the American Library Association just 2 years ago in 2014, and continues to expand in K-12 libraries and makerspace labs. The adoption of makerspaces in the United Kingdom is indicated here to show a progression from knowledge to confirmation. UK makerspaces have been emerging for 10 years. Bloomberg's Innovation Index ranks the United States as first in high-tech companies, but 10th in education. Let's strive for first in both. Here is an example of Lego Story Starter in action at DES. My role will be to first earmark the school library's educational enhancement funds for the Lego Story Starter package. Second, I have already gathered volunteers, and the facilities department is willing to ensure safety measures are used while installing the Lego wall. My most important function is to continually spark adoption for this innovative makerspace through our school's library by the students, DES, local school community, and other school libraries. Again, I ask for your support.
We don't need that. So basically, Abby, this is what's going to happen. Okay? So they're going to be standing like this. Yeah, and they ask him, who are you? And then he says, I'm your father. And then he says, but you are dead.
There's a common misconception, I think, in the everyday world that play is something that children do. It's a stage they go through. It's quite fun, we let them do it. It doesn't serve any particular purpose, and they grow out of it. There is a huge problem in primary education in supporting children to become able and effective writers.
So we were trying out and finding out whether a playful approach could help children in the writing, and we're using Lego as an educational resource for children to represent their ideas.
Lego helps me see the creativity in my brain. So when we're writing, it really helps me get the effect in my brain.
about metacognitive questioning.
So we had some previous research showing that this was a promising approach, but we didn't know how it would work in the classroom.
We work with the teachers as co-researchers, and I mean that quite seriously, because we know the research, but they know how to teach. They, better than anybody else, can see the difference that this intervention was making.
Before I was involved in this, I found that my English lessons, there was a big pressure to get onto writing as fast as possible. And it meant that often children would come out afterwards with very uninspired ideas. Today, for our English lesson, we are going to be finishing the story of the hero twins. I'd like you to write the opening to your story. Make sure that as you do so, you're using your model. Move things around to help you to get ideas for your writing. We've been using this book to tell a story. With the Lego, the children have been recreating the story in storyboard form using the individual flats.
This is the ending to get back home. That's the and then when one of them dies, the king. The other one has to find the transport to get back home, and it's a bike.
When you get to a different part of the story, you can change the scene very quickly in front of you to move the characters around in the scene. It's one of the great things about it as opposed to a paper plan.
If Hunter did survive, would his father come home with him? Yeah.
A key part of our research is going into the schools to observe what children actually do in the small groups when they're working together.
We measured their metacognitive abilities, we measured their basic language. We've also taken measures of the children's fundamental oral narrative skills, so how good are they at telling a story.
So I was pleased to be taking part in the research project, but really struggled to begin with. I thought it would be an exciting, exhilarating, positive experience. It couldn't have been further from that. It was a horrible, horrible disaster.
The role of the teacher has to change somewhat, because they no longer become, the fountain of knowledge and the instructor. Ideally, they become co-players.
What started to work was just literally trial and error, a lot of trial and error.
And then he falls off again.
I like building and then sort of writing down and changing it, because if you get stuck, then you can look at the picture and the Lego and sort of say, wait, we need to describe that more because of blah blah blah.
When they do their writing, they want to do that model justice. They want to add as the detail in the writing that they've added to their model.
Let's look at the bit where David's just left. At the moment what we're doing is we're doing what's called behavioural coding. It will enable us to detect patterns in the behaviour. We know that children have improved in their levels of creative fluency, their levels of metacognition, the standard of their writing, their ability to collaborate. But what is very clear is that the children who have benefited most from this project are the ones who started out as the least able writers.
The main point is engagement and fun. Children like it.
If you make anything more motivating and more engaging, then clearly that's going to help.
Another perspective for adopting the Lego makerspace is the systematic thinking that may adapt as we insert makerspaces into the school libraries. As we reflect on the district's goals and the low reading proficiency numbers, Research-based practice will tend to meet our needs. Here are answers to questions and concerns you may have. The direct stakeholders to consider are the students, but educators, the local school community, and our district indirectly benefits with the increase of scores for reading, retelling, and describing story elements for effective writing. Another indirect benefit is the ability to practice multiplication tables collaboratively. When the Board of Directors joins with DES, we are able to advocate for our scholars through adopting makerspaces. We have volunteers ready to put their carpentry skills to the task of safely building our first Lego wall. With your endorsement, I believe we can make an impact in addressing this particular Common Core standard. Reflection is an important process for National Board Certified Teacher Librarians. I present 6 questions that guided my reflective process. Who will I recommend as key change agents? Who would I expect to be the innovators and the early adopters? Who do I think would be the laggards? And what strategies would best help them move toward adoption? What combination of attributes would be best for helping our innovation meet critical mass in the education system, especially in the school libraries? And do I believe a centralized or a decentralized approach would work best for our local school community? And finally, has the innovation I'm proposing to the board, to you, has it already met a critical mass in our school libraries? And what strategy would I use to recommend? Finally, will you help me engage our scholars? I have a personal connection with this innovative strategy. It originated when my 76 and 75-year-old parents purchased an expensive Lego construction set to keep my nephew busy when he visits. The video you are about to see is what occurred at one of our family gatherings. My sister and nephew had this conversation. my sister and nephew had this conversation.